I guess the time has come um, as I try to talk now that my mother has been gone for 2 months. I'm going to speak as best I can about the loss of my mother. Last 2 years, I have been going to my mother. She always said, "Call it, it is my house, our house," and I actually started going there the last 2 years because she lost her housemate of 25 years in June of 2022. I did not go to that person's homegoing service for, let's say, we didn't see eye to eye. More likely, it was more on my part than their part. But anyway, I stayed my distance, but I would go check on her when I did work. The Lord blessed me in October 2020, the first time I have ever been hospitalized because I don't have children, never been pregnant. I was losing my sight, and I know the reason for that, and then I got the diagnosis for that. But I became legally blind for a few months. My sight came back just well enough to send my dad a picture of myself with my new glasses. And he texted back, "Daughter, they look good on you." I didn't know at that time that a few days later, about 6 days later, he was going to be gone. And he passed from a heart attack. 2020 came around, and my mother decided, I believe, let's see, COVID hit, I believe, in March of 2020. She stopped working either in March or April of 2020. I, in turn, had been driving 80 miles round trip to my job at a clinical laboratory. They finally, after 6.5 years, decided, "Why don't you work from home?" I was ecstatic. And in March of 2020, I came home to work, and things started dwindling down for me with my health. And I saw signs and didn't want to believe what I was seeing or experiencing. I ended up seeing my dad for the last time alive in July 2020 after a 14-year of not seeing him in person. Then I came here and I worked from home until until October 2020. So let me go back. My mother, we don't know how, but I know she was complaining about her leg hurting all the time. And I don't have a medical degree. I didn't know why she was in pain. So it turned out that her housemate eventually got her, I guess after hearing her say it over and over and over again, took her to the hospital, local hospital, and they ended up admitting her. And they told her that if she had waited an hour later to come to the hospital, they would have had no choice but to amputate her left leg. No, it's the right leg. Oh, it was the right leg. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was the right leg. Well, she ended up having to spend 30 days at a rehabilitation facility. Again, this is during COVID. To be taken care of and to do physical therapy. After 30 days, she came home in September. I left my home in a different state and went to where she lives, or where I'm from, which is approximately like 3 hours away, to check on her. But at that time, I was noticing things going on in my body that were not right. But anyway, I didn't say anything other than I did tell her I was having a hard time seeing, and I had been to a specialist, and the student who is eventually going to be ophthalmologist or the other said you have dry eyes. So they said you can just buy your self over the counter drops, which I did. Didn't know which one would be the best. My mom had LASIK surgery. I can't remember exactly what year now. So she said, I have some drops. In turn of her trying, she said, I'll put them in for you. So when she tried, I said, Mama, you're making me nervous. And she said, why? I said, I'm noticing your hand is shaking. She said, shaking? I said, yeah. She said, I didn't know that. Anywho, I was able to keep my eyes open long enough for her to put the drops in and then give me the drops. Well, let's fast forward it to now. Oh, it went in 2024, because that was, I don't know if it was 2022. It had to have been 2020, but it progressively got worse. She would just be sitting down checking her mail, and while she's sitting there, her hand would just tremble. So I told her she had tumors, and I had seen something on the Today Show where a man used to play for his church, but he couldn't any longer because of the trembles he had in his hands. And he loved to play, I can't remember if it was the piano or the organ actually, but whatever instrument it was, he was like, I want to be able to play again. So he was under like a research group, and he went in, and now I can't remember exactly. I think it was like an injection that he had to get maybe every 3 or 6 months, but he noticed a vast improvement. Even writing was a challenge for him. My mom's handwriting changed as well. Not too bad, but it changed. But like I said, when you're sitting down, thank God, now when she ate, I don't recall it shaking. So it wasn't like she was dropping food all over the place. That's not the case. It's like when she was just in, I can't think of my word I want to use. When she was still, that's not the word I wanted, but for the lack of it coming to me. When she was still, then you would notice the shaking. And she read her Bible every day, so she's holding the Bible, but I wasn't watching her the whole time because I usually was on my phone, because we became not very big television people anymore. We were happy at home. When I wasn't with my mom, I did the same thing here that I did at her house. We stayed in our pajamas, we took showers, get back in our pajamas. So only time we got dressed was when we were going somewhere. Well, my mother, we kept, my brother and I, it's just the two of us, and I'm the oldest by 3 years. We kept telling Mama, you're getting to an age that you can't do the yard anymore. And she wanted to prove us wrong. And she would get out there and mow. Excuse me. She would get out there and mow. But when she was a younger woman, and my mother had cancer twice, 2005 and 2015, different cancers. But when she had the first time she had cancer, she recalled to me, you know what? I used to be able to wash the cars, because she had 2 cars, mow the yard, meaning the front and the backyard, get my chemo treatment, and then go to work, and she worked till midnight. And I said, yeah, but you're older now. You can't keep doing that. But again, she would go out, and she didn't stay out there very long. She would come in the house, and she would say, oh, Jesus, oh, Lord, oh, Jesus. And so she would sit down and ask me to give her a glass of water. or a bottle, because we drink a lot of water. I would keep like 7 cases in her house at one time, but usually it would be 5 typically. I said, Mama, do you want the water out of the refrigerator or room temp like I drink it? And I mean, she just profusely sweating. She said, no, 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 give me the cold water. I said, but Mama, you're hot. Give me the cold water. I said, okay. So I would get her a cold water, and she's thinking I'll get up in about 10 minutes. She would break for about an hour, and of course she was still tired. But she said, I got to go back out there and finish it. So I don't remember exactly. Sometimes she may have started at 10 and she wasn't a morning person. And my poor mother didn't finish that yard. I couldn't help her. She told me she didn't want me to do the work because she never taught me or had me do lawn work. She had been doing it since she was a little girl because her older sisters and brothers, more the brothers, had become adults and they moved on. So we have a homestead, and at that time there was no church. It was just a vacant lot. Eventually there was a church because my great grandmother had permission from the Lord to build a church. So the church was built, and since I was such a young girl, I do remember a little bit about my great grandmother, but I don't know if that church, it had to have been, it was finished before she died, and she died in early 70, like 72, I think, 1972. Well, my brother and I were here because we were born in the late 60s. So I remember my mother told me that she had gone to, we called her Mommy's funeral, and a man startled her by saying, my grandmother's name was Bernadine. And he said loudly, Bernadine's not dead. Bernadine's not dead till you die. And my mother very much favors her mother, who she lost when she was 7 years old. My mother was also the 7th child of 9 kids. And the only thing is, my grandmother had a pointy nose. And yes, you can look at mine. My mother didn't have a pointy nose either, but everything else was just like a split image of her mother. And I'm the split image of my mother. And it stopped there because I didn't have children. I got married, but I didn't have any children. So she has both. She did keep her dad live until he was 94. So he passed in 2007. And I believe my grandmother was 2 years older than him. So she died in 52 at the age of 42, and had other family members who also died at 42. So my mom was thinking, having myself and my brother, that we may also, she was blessed to be past 42. Then she worried about us. Would we make it past 42? Which we both did, because it's been some years since we were 42, believe it or not. But anyway, I started going regularly every month in July of 2022 to check on Mama. And she progressively got to the point that she didn't want to eat. And then she would say, when I was a child, I didn't like food. And I hadn't actually paid attention that she had lost weight until I took a picture of her trying to do the yard. She did do it, and it would look nice. She did the yard, I think it was May of last year, sent it to my brother, and he mentioned, Mama's lost weight. And I looked at the picture and I said, well, I guess she has. I just didn't pay attention to her. So one time we were out, she needs to go to the bank, so I took her to the bank. And I said, Mama, do you want to go where you used to work, which was an apartment complex for the church, geared toward the elderly and the handicapped. So there were young people in there, and everybody had fixed incomes. They could have been teachers in a previous life. Not previous life. I don't believe in reincarnation. I am so sorry. In a previous career, they may have been a teacher or even a nurse, but now they were on a very tight fixed income. So they lived in this facility. And my mother worked there from 86 up until 2020 when she voluntarily left. Like, it was between March and June. I really think it was more like April, her birth month, but I'm not sure. Or maybe it was May. Anyway, I'm not going to lie. I got a little jealous because I was like, I want to be at home. Well, I did get the point of being able to work from home. But saw my dad in July of 2020, and my health was steadily going down. I eventually passed out in my home, and I was still conscious. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to have to go to the emergency room. I am a veteran, a Navy veteran, so I text my supervisor at that time to let her know I was not feeling well. Sitting where I'm sitting right now in this home office in front of the laptop that I had gotten from work, it was so uncomfortable, and I kept saying, I don't know why I feel like I'm sitting on a rock. Well, when the Lord woke me up early, like 2 o'clock maybe, I got up and I started throwing up. I couldn't get to the ensuite bathroom fast enough. Some did get in that commode, but most of it was in the bathroom, on the bathroom floor. And I felt so tired and defeated. I cleaned it up as best as I could, and I said, Lord, if you just allow me to go back to bed and to sleep for a few more hours, I will get myself, with your help, to the ER. Well, I did wake up hours later, and again, that was only in 2020. I don't remember sometimes what I've done the same day or hours before on the same day. So I got in my car. I actually took some extra underwear. Didn't think nothing was going to happen. But I did get there. I couldn't see well enough to look at the GPS. I have always hated hearing them talk. Turn right, turn left, and it's 10 feet or whatever. So that was turned off. And I had to really rely on the Lord to help me to get there. But mind you, I was doing okay. And guess what? It started raining. And not just little drops or drizzle. It was pouring. And I started saying, Lord, have mercy. Help me, Jesus. I can't see. I don't even know if I'm in a lane. It was that bad. I ended up missing my turn, but God put me back on track. So I did make it to the VA safely. Talking makes my mouth really dry, so I apologize. I parked the car, got to the emergency room entrance, and I almost collapsed. And they said, get her a wheelchair. So they got me a wheelchair, took my vitals and put me in one of the rooms. And the doctor came in and said, what was the reason of me coming in? I said, I have something. I think it's an abscess on my backside. And they checked it out and said, you do. And I told them how I had been feeling. So they were like, just looked at me and said, and you say you feel okay? I said, I do. I just want to get a shot so I can go back home. By that time, they had gotten some blood work from me. So he said, no, ma'am, you're not going back home. You are a very sick young lady. So you're going to the ICU. So I went to the ICU, and I ended up having to call my supervisor, who's ended up saying, I didn't think you were that sick. I was in ICU for 2 days, and then I got into a private room. And let me tell you how the Lord works. I am service connected, but at that time I was 0%, meaning I did not receive any compensation for my high blood pressure. But mind you, this is still, we all don't know what was really happening with the world, but it was still October 2020. COVID started in March 2020. I was blessed to get a private room. And I just knew, by me not being a veteran who got compensated for a disability, that I would get a private room. I would have a roommate. I would have to try to talk to them. And I'm not a people person. I like to be by myself. But the one person I told her to call was my mother. Of course, I did get a chance to talk to Mama when I was in ICU, but then I had to call and let her know, don't call the ICU unit any longer. I now am in a private room. So I gave her the number. Well, first my supervisor called back and said, I think you gave me the wrong number, because I didn't know where my phone was. Because people would say, where's your phone? Where's your phone? I said, I don't know, because I always have it with me, but I don't know where it is. Didn't think that maybe I left it in the car, but that didn't come to mind. So I had her repeat the number, because that's the only number I remember on the top of my head. And she said, whatever she said, I said, no, her number is, and I think it was off by a digit. So she called back, and of course my mother said, and she was hard to understand. I said, she is, because she is Indian from India. But when the number was given to her correctly, my mother called. And she checked on me and she said, I'm going to give the number to your brother. And I'm sure, Lord willing, by him being a full-time pastor, but she said, hopefully, Lord willing, he'll call. And he did call. I believe he only called once, but and again, he did call. So, I'm trying, you know what? I had to get calls from them because they had the phone set up where I could not make, or I guess any patient, you couldn't make any long distance calls, but you could do local calls. So when I got released, that's when I found my card, my phone, mercy. My phone was in my car. So, and it was dead. So I was charging it up while I was driving, and I ended up calling my mother from my landline. Now, just a couple of weeks ago, I finally got rid of that landline, but I had it then, and I was grateful to have had it. But anyway, that's enough about me. Getting back to my mother. So I would go every month after, by July 2022, would go check on her, and at that time I would stay a week or 2 weeks with her, come back to my home, and then go back and stay a week or 2 weeks with her. And usually, maybe at the beginning for a few months it was just a week, and then I move it to stay for 2 weeks, because I'm like, I have nothing, not nothing, because I do have everything because God has blessed me. But I didn't have to work. That was the big thing. I didn't have a job, and I had a little savings, so I was basically living off of that savings for a while. So I think May of last year may have been the last time she mowed the yard. But whatever time she started, whether it was 10 o'clock or 1 o'clock, and she seemed to always wait till the afternoon sometimes, if I remember correctly, when it's really hot and your high temperature of the day is usually at 4 p.m. And then I would go check on her, and then she'll look at me like, what's wrong? And my mother had these big eyes. I don't have them. I look like her, but I don't have the big eyes. And I said, I was just checking on you. And then she may tell me, well, I'm going to be in there shortly because I got to get some water. I'm so tired. Whew, mama is old now. So she'll come in and take a break. And like I said, If she thought she was going to be in the house for 10 minutes or 15, it always was more than that. And then when she finished, sometimes she didn't finish till 9 o'clock at night. And I kept saying, Mama, leave it alone. Come in the house. If you want to, Lord willing, do it tomorrow. And she would say, no, 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 no. I'm going to finish this. She finished. She'd come in and say, oh, Lord, I'm so tired. Oh, Jesus, I'm so tired. Please give me some water. And I knew then, don't offer her the room temperature water, get the cold water. And then she would take a shower. Well, as time went on, and her not wanting to eat, either I would do DoorDash, and I would do that so we could eat together. At first, she ate for several months with me, but then it started that she would take a nap, go to bed. After she would turn out, the ritual was she would have her little night light in the kitchen and a light over the carport on. And she would turn those off when the Lord woke her up around 7 o'clock. But during that time, she was always getting up to use the bathroom. And sometimes she would go in the kitchen and get herself a protein shake. So it became a ritual that when I ordered groceries for her and I asked her what she wanted, she said, you do a good job, whatever you order. But, mind you, she wanted protein shakes, and she preferred vanilla, then strawberry and chocolate. So sometimes I didn't do all three, I did two of them. So sometimes one flavor wasn't available and I get her the alternate flavor. She loved apple juice. Eventually I started buying that with no sugar, and she said it tasted just as well as the one with sugar. She said it's so, so good. Now her favorite drink to drink was Canada Dry ginger ale. She says, always good. This is the best thing ever. And she would say, you want one? And I was trying to do better by drinking water. And then when I would get it, I have I don't have it in here, but I have a little can opener. And when you use it, and I got it for her because of her tremble, her hand would tremble, her hand would do like this, that would have her open the can, but she never did have anything left. She would drink the whole thing, rail back, and shake that can, honey, and make sure it was all gone. But myself, I wouldn't drink my whole can, so I could take the little can opener thing and twist it around on the can that it would cover up the hole and put it in the refrigerator, get it later that day or the next day when the Lord woke me up. Let's see, there was something else. Oh, in the summer of last year, she started, I don't know, I think we went in the store and she ended up getting popsicles. So that's what she would do. She loved to sit up there in her recliner and eat popsicles. And at first she would do one or two. Then she got a little cup. This is not the cup that she had, of course. And this is not a cup. But anyway, something similar to this. Yes, Steelers. And put probably about 7 or 8 in there at a time. And then she always, anything she had, she always offered. I grew up as a selfish child. I didn't want to share. And that's when they decided it's time for her to have a sibling. Maybe she'll learn to share. That didn't change anything. I asked for a little brother, and that's what I got. Of course, at 3 years old, I couldn't say brother. I said, I want a brucka. When they said, would you like a sister or a brother? And I said, I want a brucka. So the little devil, he's not a devil, forgive me. He was the child who, whatever he got, he would say, that's exactly what I wanted. Me, I don't want that. Anywho, and I would say, Mama, I ordered something. And then I would say, she said, what we got? And I would tell her. And then she eventually would say, I'm tired of chicken. I'm tired of fish. And the thing was, that's what we primarily ate. We very rarely, I don't know the last time I had a steak dinner until Mother's Day this year. I decided to switch it up and treat myself to a sirloin steak from Outback with the sides because I couldn't celebrate because my mother was gone. And so I went ahead and she would get up sometimes by 4 o'clock and say, have you eaten? And I say, I haven't. And she said, are you hungry? I said, I'm not hungry. And then she may say, well, I'm going to eat. So I said, well, let me eat with you. And then we fix our plates. Sometimes I would take paper plates because I just don't like doing dishes. I have a dishwasher. I don't use it. My mother never used hers. She used it as a pantry because she didn't have a pantry. Her house was built back in 75. So she kept saying, why do you be bringing those paper plates? She said, I don't mind doing dishes. And sometimes she didn't do them and I would do them. I could do them in her house, at my house, and that was my house too. But anywho, I'm trying to differentiate between the two. At my house, I didn't like doing dishes, so that's why I used paper plates. Well, and Mama got to the place that she would wash them and then put them in the cabinet. She could not leave dishes, and she would not leave dishes in her sink. They had to be washed and dried and put away before she said, well, the kitchen is clean, and then she'll put on her nightlight. And if she was still up, when it got to be dusk dark, she would put her the light over the carport on. But as time went, that became she was going to bed earlier, and then she'll say, ask me, Sal, that's a short version of my name. It's not a nickname. That's my actual part of my name. She said, Sal, did you put the light on, baby? And I would forget because I don't do it in my house. I said, Mama, I forgot. And she walked very slowly. She said, that's okay. I'll get it. And she'll put the light on, the night light on in the kitchen and the carport light. So I think she used to get up and get something to drink. And sometimes she may sit in the recliner for just a bit. And then she'll look at me and tell me, you're so pretty. Your skin is smooth. I said, why are you saying that? I look like you. You prettier than me. I'm not pretty. I'm ugly. I've gotten old now and I'm wrinkled. I said, regardless to how you look, I love you. And she would tell me all the time, I love you too. But then it became, unfortunately, a nuisance to me because when she was up, she would say, I love you. I love you so much. I got you bad. And got me bad meaning when I left, she would still think she heard me in the house and would call, she knew I had called her to say, Mother, thank God I made it home safely. Then she said, okay. But then it didn't matter. She said, Sal, girl, I be looking for you. And I look out the window and I don't see that pretty pink car of yours. And I said, she's not here. I said, no, Mama, I'm at my house. This is your house too. I said, yeah, okay, Mama. And I said, you're going to have to do better and stop missing me so much. Well, I think she ended up we both have depression and anxiety. And I believe she ended up having several months before she passed, she had, and I didn't know that was a thing, separation anxiety. And it got to the point it was harder for me to leave her. I'm not going to lie. There were times when I just didn't feel like going, but I said, you only have one mother. And I get on that highway, and God blessed me to get there safely. And once I got in that door and I saw my mama, I was happy again. I didn't care about how I felt earlier that I didn't want to um, get on the road because I can't, well, because of my sickness, I can't just pop up and go somewhere. I have to do as I call pep talks. But the thing was, uh, I had stayed with her, and during the holidays, I would stay like a month. So for some reason, uh, when I talked to her last March 5th, because we liked the good doctor, I had been at home so we could see it the Tuesday before in person. So I said, well, Lord willing, I'll call you next week, like 30 minutes before, to let you know to turn on the TV so you can look at the good doctor. And she was be in her bedroom. Well, when I called, that's probably one of the shortest conversations we had my entire life. You could tell she was not feeling well. And I said, baby, I called to let you know it's time for you to put the TV on for the good doctor. And she says, that ABC? I said, it is. She said, okay. And a few minutes later, then I'm saying, the good doctor will be back in 2 weeks. And I'm like, what the world? You know, I said, better, worse than that. But I said, what is going on? Last week was the first episode of this final season. And now they've already gone on hiatus for 2 weeks. And I said, baby, I'm so sorry I called and woke you up. I said, you go back to sleep. And she said, okay. Thank you. I love you. I love you so much. So we disconnected. The next day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. No, sorry. Tuesday, they moved the good doctor to Tuesday. Had been Mondays prior. So it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I had migraines out of this world. Those were the worst I've ever had. I took my medication. I'm on 2 different pills prescribed by my primary care physician. Didn't touch the headaches. I was hurting so bad, the only time I got out of bed was to use the restroom and get right back in the bed. So I'm thinking to myself, Lord willing, I haven't talked to Mama, so I'm going to, Lord willing, I'll call her Saturday. And of course, call her like in the afternoon. Well, I called her number, and it was busy. I'm like, busy? Nah. I call again, busy. Hung up, call again. And then I wondered, did my mother possibly fall with a handset? Because it got to the point that she was falling more frequently than I wanted her to, and she wanted to. She had a fall at the bank. I can't believe it that she was able to drive herself. It's about 3 miles away. And I let her drive the summer of last year. I said, since I always, like you always say, I always go in my car. Let's go in your car. And she said, okay. Until I said, you going to drive. She said, huh? And them big eyes. I said, yeah, why don't you drive? I'll move my car out the way and I'll let you drive. Thank God we got there safely. We got back home safely. But there was a light, overhead light that was, I saw it was on when we went to Walmart, and it was on when we got back in the car to come back home. And I kept wondering, why is that light on? And I said, Mama, why that light is on? All she heard was Mama, and she opened the door. I said, Mama, close that door. She said, huh? I said, you're driving. So she got to the light, getting ready to turn to get home. She opened it again. I said, listen, let's just figure it out when we get back to the house, Lord willing. So we got back to the house, and she said, I know what's the problem. She didn't tell me, but the light wasn't on anymore. Got the groceries in, but I think the next time we went, she fell. I asked Mama, I said, Mama, don't get any water because we got at least 5 cases of water at the house. She said, I want some water. I said, just stay here. I said, you want to come with me because I'm going to go get the milk? No. Well, I didn't hear anything, but when I got back to the aisle, there was a crowd of people. And I'm like, what has happened? And they looked at me and said, are you her daughter? By this time, she's standing up and them eyes are stretched. I said, yeah, I am her daughter. They said, well, she fell. And I said, Mama. She said, I fell. Mercy be. She said, I had gotten the case of water and I was going to put in the shopping cart, and the shopping cart moved. I dropped the water, and then I fell. And I was like, have mercy. Well, you seem to be okay. Then, some person, a manager at Walmart, came to take a report from her. And she looked at me. She said, I'm going to tell the truth. So she told the truth. Do you know that woman said, he said, was anything wet? And she said, no. And of course, he got her age and her address, her name, of course. And then he said, do you still want some water? She said, yeah. I was outdone. I'm like, it's triple degrees outside. I don't feel like holding that. Because I'm not as strong as I used to be when I was young. I'm getting older too. And I said, he put one in. She said, I want another one. Once we got back to the house, and I parked next to her first car that's under the carport. And I said, Mama, get the door open so I can bring this in and have the screen door open and lock it so I won't have to worry about that falling on me while I'm trying to get in the house. And then she's like, okay, so I will let her put her groceries away because she knew where she kept things. Eventually, she wouldn't get up until I was ordering, and she just didn't have the energy to get up. So not only did I order, but I had to learn where she kept things and put them in the right place. And then I tell her that when she opened the refrigerator, she said, oh, you ordered food or groceries? I said, yeah, I did. She said, thank you so much. And she always wanted to pay me. I couldn't understand that. And she sometimes would say, you didn't ask to be in this world. I had you and your brother. Neither one of you asked to be in this world. So she would say, how much I owe you? And that's before she got her United Healthcare card. That was a blessing, that it would give her a certain amount, which I won't mention, but it was a nice amount, to have paid for groceries, prescriptions, or utilities. Well, with her Medicare, she didn't have a copay for her prescriptions. She didn't need help with her utilities because they weren't outrageously high. So we primarily used it on groceries. Stipulation is it has to be healthy food. You couldn't use it to buy ice cream and cake. And when we did do that, we paid the difference off of her Chase card. And then she would get home and then she would balance her card. So I ended up knowing what her pen was because there had gotten times that she couldn't do it. And then eventually I said, you know what? I wasn't actually a Walmart member, but I would order from them because I didn't like going to the grocery store anymore. So in July, I became a Walmart Plus member because they had a special that they decreased it from $99 for a year to $49. I'm like, oh, let me jump on this. So I had saved her address, and then I started ordering groceries for her through Walmart Plus like I did for myself when I'd be at my other house. So let me think. She fell at the bank in January, and guess what it was? Whenever Mama saw money, and usually it would be a penny, coin, because I don't think she ever picked up any dollars or any bills. Well, she decided to pick up that penny. By this time, she said she had started using a cane because a housemate had a cane, so she just used that. She fell on her back. Yeah. So the staff in the bank heard, and they went to her and they said, I'm going to say her name, but anyway, are you okay? Are you okay? They helped her, I guess, this help her at least sit up. And then they said, we calling the paramedics. Is that okay? And she said, yeah. When the paramedics got there, she refused to get any treatment. They checked her blood pressure. It was through the roof. Her glucose level was through the roof. And they said, we really would like to do some testing on you and have you get seen at the hospital. And she said, I'm not going to do it. My children, I have 2 children in this world. They both live in different states. I don't want them trying to call me and I won't be at home because they won't know where I am. So she refused. And I said, well, how did you get home, Mama? She said, I drove myself. I said, because anytime I knew that she was driving, Lord knows, and this is the truth, I worried that she would be in an accident because she scared me in 2022 driving my brother to the airport because he came back home to do co-workers of his daughter's service who had passed. And do you not know the following summer, which was last year in 2023, she lost her second daughter and asked my brother to do the service. Of course, they paid for his ticket to fly in. And then, of course, he stayed with us at the house. But I was like, Mama, I see stuff and don't worry about, and you don't need that penny. But she said, I see money and I'm not going to let it just stand there. But I said, maybe she's going to learn her lesson. Stop picking up stuff. But the thing is, when she fell in Walmart, she said, I never want to go back to Walmart again. I said, why? There's a lot of people who work at Walmart. I'm sure they're not going to look at me pointing a finger. That's the lady who fell. She said, I don't want to go. So that really made me also start ordering after I saw that deal of $49. So we did that. And then probably, I don't remember, maybe it could have started in December or November of last year. She get ready to leave and give her a kiss on her cheeks. And she'd say, don't leave me. Don't leave me. And eventually it got to me. I'm like, I don't want to leave you, but I do have a home in another state. I do have to check on my home. And she said, I know it. And like I said, I'll probably be here for 2 weeks and then I'm back where our home is. But didn't know. It was going to be my last time. When I stayed from February the 2nd to March 2nd, called her on March 5th, let her know, sorry to awaken her because it's good doctor, even though we saw the first episode together, they're going to be on not back for another 2 weeks. After I had that migraine starting Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of that week, I said, Lord, I can't wait to talk to Mama and tell her how I had been hurting. Because she's going to probably say, girl, me too. Because it seemed like sometimes we would have the same symptoms, but it wasn't meant to be. I couldn't get on the phone. So that Sunday, let me look and see what date that was. So that Sunday was March. The 10th of March. I made a call to AT&T and I said I need to have a technician go to my mother's home because I cannot get her on the phone. Now, I did do a fib. My mother does have a mobile. It was one of the government phones, but she never really learned how to use it. She always said she didn't have time for that foolishness. So she didn't know how to text either. She tried a couple of times, but she didn't know how to text. So I said, and can you do it sooner than later? And they said, well, right now we can't have a tech go out there till Saturday. I said, Saturday coming? Yes, ma'am. I said, that's the 16th. That's like another week, because the last time I talked to her was the 5th, and then I started calling her that Saturday of that week, and I decided today, the day after, I couldn't reach her to go ahead and ask for a technician to go to her home. So I said, listen, I just left my mother at the on March the 2nd, but I honestly, and don't know why I said it, but the words came out. I don't know if she's dead or alive, which was true. So according to the coroner, uh, when I told my brother. So at first, I think he wasn't that concerned. Um, like, she didn't do it very often, but sometimes mama just didn't call us back. So I still was calling. And of course, AT&T was still sending me text messages saying, was my problem resolved or do I need to keep the appointment? And I would say, keep the appointment and send that text back to him. But I tried the whole week until the technician got there on the 16th. And I think he got to my mom about 4 because when they scheduled it, they didn't give me a time frame like they normally say. We can schedule a tech to go there from 8 to 12 or 12 to 2 or 3, whatever the case may be. I didn't know when he was going to get there, but when he got there, he sent me a text and said, my name is Leon, and I'm at your mother's residency. Could you let her know? I said, didn't I tell you the home line is not working? He said, I'm so sorry, you did. I said, so I can't reach her and tell her that somebody is there to service her line. Okay. So about 6 o'clock, I said he should be done, and he must have forgotten to send me a text to say, ma'am, I'm finished the work. So I texted him and said, Leon, I said, I just tried to call my mom. I hear a dial tone, but it's just ringing. Her answering machine is not picking up. He said, I'm still here, working. I said, oh. And for right now, I remember the time that he did text me back. It was 7:57, and he said, I'm done. And I said, what was the cause? He said her line had gotten corroded. Now, I forgot something. When I called and asked for the repair technician, the representative at AT&T tells me, if we find out that the customer caused her outage, there's an $85 service fee because she doesn't have any warranties or protection warranty on her line. I'm like, so what? You're going to get paid. And so I said, okay, I need you. Like I said, I don't know if she's alive or dead. Well, my mama and I had a thing that unless it was a dire emergency, we didn't talk to each other after 9 o'clock. Now, he was finished right before 8. And I said, you know what? And I used to call her Sleeping Beauty sometimes. I said, I'm going to let Sleeping Beauty sleep. Lord willing, I will touch base with her the next day. Just a moment. So, I watched my brother. He's a pastor about to celebrate 24 years at his current church. He had pastored 2 other churches prior to where he is now, and he was there at those 2 churches 4 years each. And now since it's just the 2 of us, I have already made my arrangements for my flight. Thank God. I booked it this Thursday, be 2 weeks ago, for my September voyage there, and then I have another flight, Lord willing, I'm taking 2 weeks before his anniversary. But I lose my train of thought so easily. Okay, I remember now. So my brother usually is done. His service starts at 10:45, and for 3 years, almost 3 years, he did it just, well, maybe 2 years. He did it just, he was just him in the sanctuary. Then the choir ended up coming, and the musicians. So I have been watching his live broadcast since I think by March 2020, because I remember I was in the hospital and wasn't seeing well, but I was able to ask the nurse. I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. I'm going to wrap it up. I had the nurse, I said, I can kind of see, is that a Facebook icon? She said, yeah. I said, can you log me in? Because my brother should be live on Facebook for his church service. She said, sure. And so I gave her my login information. And she, I'm saying, and she was a nurse who always hid because I didn't bother them. I wouldn't call them for every little thing. I tried to do as much as I could by myself, but they did not want me to use the restroom where they're in being ICU. The restroom was just a stool that was hidden in a cabinet. So anywho, I called for that, but otherwise I wasn't calling them for anything. She said, well, do you want to say something? And at first I said, no. And then I changed my mind really quickly. I said, you know what? I don't think he's going to see it, but let him know I am watching from my hospital bed. Or I think I just said, I am watching. Of course, he knew I was in the hospital. So he just happened to look at his phone and said, praise the Lord. My sister is watching from her hospital bed. Tears. And the nurse was like, isn't that sweet? And I said, yeah, it is. And I didn't know that was going to happen. So anyway, I got the chance to see his service on Facebook Live. By the time I was there for 6 days, so when I was released, it was a Friday. I knew I couldn't see well at night, so I said, you please have it. They were trying to release me Thursday night. I said, no, I don't see well at all, and especially at night, so I need you guys to actually release me by tomorrow morning, God willing, or early in the afternoon. So that happened. So anyway, let me get back to my mama. It sounded like she picked up the line, but she didn't say anything. And I was like, hello, mama? Because for years I wouldn't call her mama. Her nickname was Stank. I would say Stank this and Stank that. I hung up and I tried again. So then my brother texted me and said, did I speak to her? I said, no. What happened was when I called, it sounded like she picked up, but she didn't say anything. He said, yeah, the same thing happened to me. So we left it at that. I told him, I said, Lord willing, I'm ready to go back. So I plan on going back on Saturday, even though I could go any day of the week because I don't work. I said, but I think because of my mindset, I have to prepare myself. So I'm going to just go ahead and go back, go on Saturday, because it takes me sometimes 2 or 3 days for the mentality to realize I need to go somewhere and will allow me to leave my home. So the next day was the Monday, which was the 18th of March. After 5 o'clock, my brother said he had a family friend whom I do not get along with. So as the word saying is, we don't see eye to eye. Go by the house. There was no response. Because I had thought about when the repairman, and by this time I had a lawnman doing her yard. Nobody said anything about, the lawnman reported something, but he didn't mention anything about there was a foul odor or something, because I've always heard people start to smell. So he didn't say anything about that. I didn't ask him. He just said, look, somebody made some tracks in the grass headed to her fence. I said, okay, well, thank you for letting me know. And he was recently retired from the Air Force. So, and of course, I paid him, and I started paying him a day before. We agreed that he would do her yard on Thursdays. And then I was trying to book it with my landscaper, but so now hers is done on Thursday and mine's is done the following week on a Friday, weather permitting, of course. So it's happened that the guy has had to do it a day before. And I'm like, okay, well, I always cash app him a day before, so he's good. He said, because rain is supposed to come tonight, and I wouldn't be able to do it on the regular scheduled day. I said, I appreciate it. And he would send me pictures. So since my brother and I are not there, we can look at the pictures and see how the yard's looking. But more importantly, the cars are there and kind of look and see if anything seems to be out of place. So anywho, she has good neighbors. It's not a bad neighborhood at all. But you know, the devil is always busy. So the house next door to her had been vacant for years. And somebody ended up buying it. And he's an Air Force person. And as I left for the last time and I haven't been back to the house, I introduced myself to him and got his number and advised him if he saw anything, which he didn't know, but thought it was suspicious, please let me know. So I have not heard from him. My brother, on that Monday, the 18th of March, texted me and said about the friend gone by. And then he said, you know what, I'm going to have the police do a wellness check. When he said that, it's like my heart fell down to my feet. And I went into a panic attack. And I had to call on the Lord like I always do. But this time I had to really call on him because I was like, Lord Jesus, help me. Help me to be able to get up, take me a shower, and get out of this house. Because when I visited my mom, I did not, and I still haven't, I never unpacked because I always take extra clothes, even though we stayed in our pajamas, extra underwear. But I said, let me get my, because he's coming from somewhere like 8 hours away versus me 3 hours away. So he said, I'm getting ready to leave now. And do you know what? The devil had me thinking, just wait till tomorrow, which would have been Tuesday. And I had to tell the devil to get behind me. That child, my brother, is coming from further distance than I have to. Let me get myself together, take a shower, check my suitcase because I would wash my dirty clothes, but it got into place the last few months because she always offered. She said, I'm your mother, you're my child. Why don't you wash your clothes? I didn't want to run her bill up. So I said, Mama, I'll just take my clothes back to my house. So the last few months, I would do it. And actually, I felt good doing it. And I do the little clothing that she would have. So I was able to talk to myself and calm my nerves and get in the car. And of course, I got there before my brother. But of course, I didn't get there till after 9 o'clock. He thought more than I did. He called a friend of ours who's a registered nurse. She doesn't do nursing anymore because she got burned out after 30-some years, and she's a year older than myself. But she called me, and I was roughly less than 30 minutes from the house, and she said, well, you're going to beat me. And I kind of laughed and said, yeah, I probably would because I know you're notoriously late, just like Mama was always notoriously late going somewhere. So she said, well, yeah, I'll see you later. I said, God's willing. People don't like to say that. I don't have a problem because things happen so fast. At first it was hard. I would say, if nothing happens. It still means the same thing. If the Lord spares, Lord willing. Because I am a believer. And I hope that anyone who takes the time to look at this has gotten this far in my video to understand why I do what I do. And hopefully you agree as well. So when I got down the street, got ready to do my turn to the street, it was dark. The street lights, of course, were on because it's after 9 o'clock. And at first, I was like jumping for joy. Yeah, the light is on. But there's a light outside a front door. We used to do the front door and under the carport. And I think my mom ended up thinking, you know what? I'm going to stop doing that because that front door stopped working years ago. And then, unfortunately, the housemaid that she had for 25 years was a hoarder. So that's why I didn't go home. I couldn't at the time because I worked, so I would go home on a Saturday and come back on a Sunday. but it wasn't, I didn't go every weekend. I may go once every 3 or 4 months until that person passed. So I realized that wasn't my house. That was 2 doors down. And when I got to pull up in the driveway, there was my sign, no light on the carport. Now my cousin, I forgot, my cousin, older cousin had gone by because she said she had been on my mind. She had been on my mind. So she decided to go swing by. She said there was no mail in the mailbox. That wasn't the sign I was looking for. I said her neighbor, Mama got to the point it was hard for her to stay upright going to the mailbox because she may fall, and she had fallen. I said, that doesn't mean anything to me. And then when she got to the door, she saw a plastic bag with a lot of mail. And unfortunately, my mother worked. She didn't work until she was in her 40s, excuse me. She stayed at home with my brother and I until I was 20 some years old, 20 or maybe 20, maybe 21 when she started working. My brother's 3 years younger than myself. So she didn't start working until her 40s. And like I said, she worked from 86 until 2020 and decided once COVID hit, she was scared of catching it. So she didn't work. None of us ever got a shot. And thank God to this day, we never caught COVID. We were blessed. My dad didn't, he got the shots. He didn't die from COVID because that's what I thought was his cause of death. But it turned out he had a heart attack when I got his death certificate for my brother and I. But anyway, so I sat in the car, I called my brother and told him I had made it safely. I said, do you want to stay on the line with me while I go into the house? And he said, yeah. So when I get there, of course, I was used to a light being on, so there was no light. So I had to use my phone light, and so I could put my key in the door to open it. But prior to doing that, my brother, of course, even when our dad passed, we didn't have to do any arrangements because he was remarried. And his widow made all those arrangements. He had a birthday on February 20th. He died on the 27th. And then his homegoing service was March the 6th, if I'm not mistaken. So I opened the door. He said, what'd you see? It wasn't what I saw. It was what I smelled. And the thing was, she always threw mothballs around the house. And normally I wouldn't smell those mothballs till I came back to my house. But their scent was very strong. So I was trying to still be hopeful that if she's in here, maybe she has a little bit of a pulse. So I looked in the living room. Her chair was reclined, but she wasn't in a chair. I hit the hallway. And that was it. I told him, she's gone. He said, but how do you know? I said, I smell her. I got to the door. I looked in the bed. Didn't see my mama, but the stench was so strong. I looked in her, not even look because I didn't move. I looked toward the bathroom. The door was open. And the room looked like it was ramshackle. Her comforter was off the bed. Her shoes were in 2 different places. Other things. I mean, it just looked a mess. So someone said, go check the house because somebody must have broke into this house. That's what I thought. And I said, wait a minute. I just came from the carport, went in the kitchen, the dining area, and the living room. Everything was in place as much as it could be for a hoarder to have lived there. His son cleared it out just enough for us to walk a little bit, but otherwise it is unfortunately piled up almost to the ceiling in the house, in one of my mother's cars that she let him use. Oops. And in her shed. So something like look down. When I looked down, I saw my mama, and she had an accident on herself, which I hear that happens when people pass. But she looked stiff as a board, and she looked like in 2 weeks, she looked like she had lost 20 pounds. What I would have said, she was 100 pounds. I didn't scream and holler if you had told me I would find her, I just knew I was going to scream and holler. And I would be having people trying to get me under control. And I'd say, they put a white jacket on me, and I'll say, don't ever let me out of here. I don't want to go back to society. Keep me in here. But that's not what happened. God blessed me to stay calm and not holler in my brother's ear. And I closed the door. And a few minutes later, our friend came. She came. She had been there for I think the last time she was there was 2 years ago when Mama had the shingles. And I had gotten my shot. She had gotten a shot back in the 80s, but my nurse told me that shot was just like eating a piece of candy. It wasn't effective at all. So that she did need to do the shingles that was done to me. So I told Mama, and then she said, well, I got it and I'm not going back. I said, Mama, you do have to go back. You could go in 6 months. And she said, well, they didn't tell me that, because she would do it at the pharmacy, CVS. I said, yeah, you can do it in 6 months. I did that. Got it done in June, and I went back in December and got my second shot. The first shot didn't bother me. The second shot, I lost feeling in my right, I think it was my left, because I'm a right-handed person, so I always do the opposite arm. And I got into my guest room and just plopped. And I couldn't move. And I said, I didn't pay attention to the signs that he gave you the first time, any side effects, because I didn't have any side effects the first time. Anywho, so this person had been there 2 years ago. So she said she got to turn around, but thank God she made it. But her eyes were already watery. And she said, well, did you call, baby? Did you call the fire department, the police department? I don't remember if she said anything about a funeral home. I think it was just we needed to touch base with the fire department and police. And I said, no, I didn't know what to do. I've never been through this, so I was just waiting for my younger brother to get here. And I said, he probably won't get here till 3 o'clock. And I was just going to sit here at the dining table. And then she said, do you mind if I go check? I said, she gone, but yeah, so you are a nurse, so yeah, go ahead. So she covered Mother in the comforter that had been pulled off the bed. And she said she did touch her. She was cold, and she was turning blue. So it turned out some police officers came and they said, we've already been to this house. I said, you came here for a wellness check. She's deceased. Oh, and and it's probably me having hallucinations. I thought I heard somebody say, and this house is so junky. And I got loud and said, this house is not an indication how my mother kept her home for many years until she had a housemate. This house stayed spick and span. You could eat off the floor. She kept her house tidy until she opened her home to somebody who didn't have a place to stay. And they stayed here from 97 until their death in 2022. And the thanks she got was her house is in such disarray. Now, of course, I didn't say he didn't ever, because she didn't charge him. Doggone it. She didn't charge any rent to this person. So, anywho, finally the coroner came and she was talking to me, and it was like, I can see your mouth moving, but I'm not grasping what you're saying. And she said, you're in shock. She said, it's okay. Do you have any questions for me? And I said, wait a minute, I do have one. I said, how long has she been gone, approximately? I don't know if you can tell me that or not. And she said, about 24 hours, because there was no trauma. I can tell you that much until we do our report. I said, okay. And if you have any other questions, please call me. My name is whatever her name was at the coroner's office. So I never called. Well, my brother made it in, thank God, safely. And I said, oh, you made it before 3. But the thing was, I was gonna change mother's clocks for because it was when I left. I think the following week we would spring forward, but I didn't do it. I said, Lord willing, I just do it when I come back. And so it turned out. You know what? I can't remember now. I think he got there like after 1 o'clock. I want to say 2 o'clock. Anyway, it was before 3, and then I ended up realizing I got to set the clocks back. So I thought it was 2, but it's actually 1 o'clock. So I did all the clocks in the house for them, and then we went ahead and went to the funeral home came. They got turned around, so I told them where we were, and it turned out when they heard our last name, they was like, said our daddy's name. I said, yeah, we're his kids, but my brother wasn't there then. It was just me and our friend. And it said, oh, y'all not sisters? Y'all look so much alike. And she said, we're sisters in Christ. Meaning, we are sisters. I call her sister sometimes because at one point in time she was engaged to my brother. But they didn't get married, and she ended up marrying someone else, and she got divorced after about 2 or 3 years. Anywho, and they asked again. I'm saying, we already told you we're not sisters, so stop asking. And when I had to say say my mother's name and spell it, say my name and spell it because it's not a common name, then a light bulb went off, and that person said, such a person, was that your dad? I said, he was. Isn't that something? We loved him. And he was also a pastor in another city, not far, about 45 minutes from where my mother lived. So then it was an older man and a younger man, but he wasn't no spring chicken either. And he said, yeah, because my mother. I said, wait a minute. At one time, your mother, he said, because my mother used to always get a gift for being on Mother's Day for the woman in the church member who had the most kids. And I can't remember, that woman had 12 or 14 kids, but it was a lot. I said, oh yeah, so I'm not good with names, but her name popped in my head. He said, you got it. I said, wow. So they took one of the sheet that I had finally, I told Mama, I said, Mama, you don't stay out of the bed long enough. Won't you let me wash the sheets, baby? I said, because I think these sheets have been on here since December, if not before. So she stayed up long enough reading her Bible for me to change her sheets, which were still in the bed when she passed. And I was able to, they took that sheet, but I took everything else and washed it. Everything else was okay, but that comforter I had to wash, I think, at least 4 times because the stench was still in it. So it turned out everybody had clean sheets on the bed. My brother and I, worked diligently trying to get that sent out, and people had said, oh, it's going to be months before you guys get it. Do you know, when I left to come back to my house, and I went back to our house, and when I found my mother deceased, it had gradually gotten better, so much better. I just went ahead and said, it's a 3-bedroom house. My brother was in his room. My 21-year-old nephew was in my room, and I slept in my mama's room, which was what I was doing when she was alive. She had a king size bed, so she'd be on one side and I'd be on the other side. But I'm glad I didn't really boo-hoo a lot in this. I will say this. I have been in therapy for years. My therapist had suggested in January during a session that I should do psychotherapy. Would I be interested? And I told him, yeah. Well, it wasn't time. They called me once. I was a little depressed and I didn't answer the phone. I saw a number, but the number I was used to wasn't what came up, but it was a number in the state that I live in. So I said, well, if they leave a message, I'll just check it later. So I did. I said, I don't feel like talking. So I called 2 days later because I was dealing with something for my mother, trying to get them to do home delivery of her prescriptions like I get for my prescriptions from the VA to keep her from getting in the car and having to drive. And that was a headache. But I can't say, when I start having those migraines, those days after the last time I spoke to her, that was my sign then. But I didn't know why. Even with 2 medications, I could not get rid of the migraines. And I was just like, ooh, I talked to her on Saturday, Lord willing. She gonna probably say, girl, I had headaches too. But it didn't. So anyway, I thank God that she knew the Lord. She is, without a doubt, in heaven, in a better place. No more pain, no more heartache, no more sickness. And people, the neighbors were like, how are you staying in that house? I said, it's easy. I know the Lord, and my mother knew the Lord. Yes, she passed in the house, but that's okay. I have a calmness in the house because my brother and my nephew left me. They came the day before her service because we had the showing on April 1st. No, Easter Sunday. April 1st was my mother's homegoing service. And then Tuesday, which she could not, and we would never celebrate it or put any remembrance of it, because we don't believe in that, heavenly birthdays. But Tuesday was her actual birthday, April 2nd. But getting back to when we made the arrangements at the funeral home, that was on March 20th. And I let my brother be the spokesperson because he is a pastor. He has to do it for his church members. I, however, am the oldest, but I do have diagnosis of mental health, anxiety, and depression. So he said, when we get in there, let the man talk. And I was like, you don't have to tell me that. I'm going to let him talk. But mind you, if he addresses me, I will say something. Or if it's something I don't agree with, I'm going to say something to myself. But the only thing I told my brother was, yeah, I won't say anything, but if he talks to me directly, yeah, I will talk back to him. So he was the spokesperson for us. And I told the man, I said, I'm letting my brother speak for us. So he said, when would you like to have the service? Mind you, this was Wednesday, March 20th. And my brother said, March 25th. And I snapped my head at him because he was sitting behind me at this table. And the funeral director was at the head. And I said, the 25th? I said, that seems awfully soon. I said, what's today? Is it Monday? And both of them chimed in, no, it's Wednesday. I've always had a problem with the day of the weeks, even when I worked. And I said, the day is Wednesday, the 20th. And they said, yes. I said, so you want to have it on the 25th? What day is that? He said, that's the next Monday. I said, that's what, 5 days? I said, I don't know if anybody's going to show up or not, but I have one family member in mind that I think if we push it back, he said, well, when do you want to have it? And I told my brother, it's not like I want to do it at the end of the month. It's not like we don't have the money. I want to say, let's push it back to the following week. Well, when we told her that, so the funeral director was like, All right, so you want to have the showing on Sunday. That's Easter Sunday. I said, oh, no, no, no. We can't do it then. And he said, yes, you can. I said, no, we can't. We don't want to disturb church services. He said, ma'am. And my brother was shaking his head like, mm. And they said, it's going to be here at the chapel. I said, oh, like, tell me something, child. I didn't know. I said, oh, okay. He said, so this works well because people can go to Easter service and then go eat, and then come back. He said, but I'm going to schedule from 12 to 4. And we didn't oppose it. So we said, okay. But he didn't ever tell me to come and view the body before. So when I went to come back to where I lived to get clothing to go back there for the service, and I had to find a dress for my mom, and he told me everything I needed. So I said, I'll come back. And he said, when you going to come back? I said, I don't know. He said, well, sister, I'm needed by the Thursday. That was coming up to the service on Monday. And I said, Lord willing, I'll be back. And so my car was acting up. For my brother, his was acting up too. We both got it taken care of when we returned to our respective states where we live. But I had a dress in mind for my mama, or our mama. And I told my brother, because the man said, do you have a dress? Well, the man said he needed a dress. I said, not. I said, yeah, I have something in mind. And my brother said, oh, okay. I said, yellow was her favorite color. And I see it in my mind, but I thought it was a two-piece. I hadn't seen it in that in years because we have all gained weight. But at the end, like her other siblings, they all got really tiny. So, because she had 6 brothers and sisters to precede her in death. Now there's only 2 left, a brother who was the baby and a sister who was born after my mom. And then my grandfather, when my grandmother died, when my mother was 7, I don't know how soon, but he remarried and had 5 more kids. My mother never called them half sister, half brother. She always just called them her sisters and brothers. So I said, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to look. And of course, the closets are very small. It got to the point that she would take clothes out of her closet and put them in my closet, in my room. And I said, I think it's probably in my room. But as my brother was cleaning the carpet, and he said, I can't get this stain out, but we're trying to really get the odor. I started looking, and I told him, I said, you know what? I'm tired. I can't find it. So, kid you not, he went back. I stayed. And when I came back, I said, okay, I told the man I was there by myself. I told that funeral director that I was going to, and I think I was trying to go back on Monday, but this mind of mine wouldn't let me be great. So I left that Tuesday, doing my little pep talk, I left that Tuesday, and I didn't get home till the afternoon when they would have been closed. I think it was 5 o'clock. So I said, Lord willing, I'm going to go tomorrow. So that'd be a day before my actual deadline that he gave me a Thursday. Well, when I found the dress when my brother was there, I said, this is not the dress. And when he picked out something, it had everything but yellow in it. And it was a 2-piece. Because the man was like, you need to do a dress, pantyhose. I said, why pantyhose? We're not going to see it, her legs. And he said, sister, do as I ask. Underwear, blah, blah, blah. So I said, okay. Do you not know, this is how good the Lord is. I said, I don't want to bury her in this dress, but I cannot find the dress I'm thinking of. I know it's yellow, and I know if that's black, little design in it, or it's navy blue, or is it gray. And I put my shoes on after taking my shower, looked in my closet, and it was like somebody had put a flashlight in my closet, and it was beaming. And I got up, and I saw the dress, and I said, thank you, Jesus. I said, well, you are not going. I'll put you back later, put it in a carrying bag, and as I was putting the address in my GPS, my car cut off. It had never done that. And I said, what is wrong? I turn it on again, still trying to proceed with putting the address in the GPS. Cut off again. But, you know, my brother did, because like I say, he is a preacher and a pastor. He did the sermon for our dad, going to his homegoing, and our mother. And for both of us, mother's death, I've been saying passing, so I'm getting a little bit stronger. Her passing hit both of us hard. And I had another, recently I just had a therapy session. It was the first one since she passed. And I couldn't believe I cried the whole time. And again, my therapist said, I need to get you another consult. And I told him, I said, I did call those people back. I knew the person's name was Lee, but he called from a different area code that I'm used to. It's still Texas. Dang it. I have talked too much. Oh, mercy. I said he called from an area code I didn't recognize from the state that I live in. So I decided to call back. I said call back 2 days later. I said I haven't heard from them from that date to this one. He said, okay, well, let me put in another consult because it will help you with your grieving process. And I'm still waiting on that call. But in the meantime, God has given me strength I didn't know I had. And I pray for anybody. You know, you don't know how you're going to feel. And when other people lose their parents, you know, you have sympathy, but you don't really know what they're going through until you've gone through it. And like I said, my dad passing was a breeze to me. But my mom, my best friend, my girl, it's been a different story. Now, she had also mentioned to us that if and when she passed, if we wanted to cremate her, that's fine. She didn't want us to get ourselves in debt, try to have something for the public. Because I don't care what you do, they're going to talk. And so I told my brother, I said, you know what? I know, just like our dad is buried in the cemetery next to the church that he had pastored for 30-some years. I think it was 34 years. I said, and I will have gone to his gravesite a total of 2 times. And the second time happened October 2023 because my brother was invited with the present pastor to come preach for their, I think it was something, some kind of special service. I would say church anniversary, but it wasn't. I don't think it was that. But before then, I only went a few months after he passed in 2021 to put flowers down. Took pictures. I've changed phones a couple of times, so I lost my pictures. So I only went out there, and it was October where I live. It felt like it's still summertime. It was so hot. My car didn't start then. I've been having trouble ever since I had bought the battery in August 2021 from Walmart. And I wanted a battery longer than 1 year, but they tried a 2. I think they didn't have a 3. They tried a 2-year. It wouldn't fit. So I told them I need to go back to my state where I lived. So go ahead and put in the 1-year battery. So off and on that whole time up until now, recently I got that changed out last month to a 3-year battery at a repair shop. That car, I didn't never know if it was going to start or not. But my car that morning didn't start. And I just got here yesterday. And it still wouldn't start. I just kept. I said, my mom, of course, she said she wasn't going because she wasn't feeling well. Because unfortunately, every day for years I heard, I'm hurting. So I would say, how you hurting, mama? And she would say, like a big dog. And I've been hurting like that recently, and I smile when I think about it because that's what she would say. I'm hurting like a big dog. And she didn't eat, but she always wanted me to give her pain medication. I would give her pain medication in the afternoon and the evening when she decided she wanted to go to bed. If it was 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever. But I told her, you can't, baby, you can't take medication for pain without eating. And she said, well, I got up in the middle of the night and got me a protein shake. I said, Mama, I said eating. What have you eaten today? Nothing. I said, can I give you a banana? Because we're little monkeys. We love bananas because it's one fruit that always tastes the same, in my opinion. I said, do you want a banana? She told me no. Or she would tell me no. I said, no banana, no pain medicine. Oh, bring me a banana. I bring her a banana, and I'm getting ready to go to get the pain medication. Because she liked a lead. No, she did like a lead, but the other one I bought her, was Advil. Then I told her, you have to do the PM, so we're going to do Advil in the afternoon, like 2 o'clock, whenever she was getting ready to read her Bible. And then we do, when you get ready to go to bed, we'll do the leave, PM. And she said, okay, that works. So she would say, you my nurse. She'd put a little hand out, and I'd give her the pills. And, of course, I had a bottle of water that was cold so she could drink it after she's eaten the banana. But that's basically what she's gotten to the point. She wouldn't even get up to eat, and I still steadily was buying enough food through DoorDash that it was going to last us at least 2 days, if not 3. And I ended up telling her, I said, Mama, this is not cheap. Because they don't just come because I bought the food. I have to give them a nice tip. I said, because I had gotten at a point I was looking at YouTube, and I've always tried to get somebody a nice tip because I didn't know where I was going to end up being if I had to become a what it's called, DoorDash, Uber Eats driver. And thank God I didn't ever. Once I stopped working, God delivered me, and I have not been back to a job and don't plan on ever going back, Lord willing. But I ended up telling her, she said, oh, I didn't know. I said, oh, yeah. I said, honey, if they see that you put 0, they will reject it, and it goes to somebody else and somebody else. And some people don't care. They just want to stay in a good status, like elite status. So they'll go ahead and take that order, and they're driving 12 miles to get nothing as far as a tip. Oh, okay. And then before last few weeks of her being alive, I look at a YouTuber, and she mentioned she did smoothie bowls. And I said, I didn't know, I hadn't heard of a smoothie bowl, a Smoothie King. So I ended up ordering one for my mom and one for myself. And I don't know, I guess the closest store to us is 7 miles, 5 miles, between 5 and 7, I'll say. So they dropped it off, and I liked it too because I love pink, and they had a pink spoon for us to use to eat. My mama's, I ordered for her, and it's my favorite, the PB Swizzle smoothie bowl. I love chocolate, so I had ordered for myself a Asia Cocoa Haze. She didn't try mine. I offered. She said she didn't want to. And when she asked me about trying hers, I said, no, you enjoy. Child, Mama and I both cleaned our bowls so well, it almost looked like they had been washed. And I was so glad that she finally had something to eat that she didn't say it was nasty. Because when she did eat, that's what she said. Nasty, it's nasty. She said, that was so good. So I said, well, I'm so happy you enjoyed it. She said, So I didn't get the app after that through DoorDash. I said, let me get the app. I think I may be able to get it a little bit, it would cost me a little bit less because going through DoorDash, given the cost of the bowls and a tip, I was spending $40. And I spent $40 I think I did it on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, one of those days I didn't do a bowl. I know she likes to drink, so she said, are we getting a bowl today? The next time I order. I said, baby, not today. We're going to actually get smoothies. So she liked kale, so hers had kale and spinach. I like strawberries and bananas, so mine was some berry concoction. And I said, here's your drink. She said, no, don't get me wrong. It does taste good. But I sure did like that bowl. And I said, okay, Lord willing, it's going to be bowls, no more drinks. So the next day, she said, why you popped up? I said, because we have bowls. Oh, goody. So she enjoyed that. And I'm glad that at least before she got out of here, she did experience a smoothie bowl. And the person I saw, she does interact with her followers. And she was glad to hear that we had tried it based on her. And she wouldn't say what bowl she was getting. She just said, child, I'm at Smoothie King. I'm finna order me a smoothie bowl. So with that, if there's anybody going through the loss of a parent, whether it's a mother or a dad, I wish you the best. God take care of you. Be blessed. And keep the faith.